On Monday in New York, President Trump talked about a phone call he had recently with Governor Cuomo, and he said Governor Cuomo called him and pledged he would never run against him in 2020. And I'm wondering if you had any insights on the relationship between the president and Governor Cuomo, and looking ahead to 2020, what potential Democratic challengers what do you think President Trump would most like to go against, or would like to avoid going against?
Two very separate questions. You know, I don't speak for the president again. I don't know what his relationship is like with Governor Cuomo. I didn't interact at all with Governor Cuomo when I was running the campaign, and so I don't know how friendly the two have been. Clearly, as New Yorkers, they have some type of long-standing relationship, and the Cuomo family, which precedes this governor and his father and Chris, is one that I think has been involved for a very long time. But I couldn't speak to what their relationship is like. I think any pledge by any Democrat right now who is up for re-election that they're not running for the presidency in 2020 is just a fallacy. From Elizabeth Warren to Governor Cuomo to anybody who's on the ballot in 2018, I don't think you can take that with any credibility, because no one's going to say they're going to run for president while they're seeking re-election. That being said, I think if I were a Democrat strategist, just to put my Democrat strategist hat on for a second, and somebody said to me, who do you want to be the Democratic nominee for President of the United States? There's only one name I would choose, and I think the person could have a very competitive race. And his name is Michael Bloomberg. He checks many, many boxes in the progressive movement. He's exceptionally wealthy. He has 100% name ID. He's willing to self-fund a race because he put $100 million into his own race for mayor of New York City. He has a history of running the nation's largest city, and he doesn't have the same problems that senators have, which is the schedule of being in the U.S. Senate, the obligation to go out and raise money at the clips of $2,700 apiece. He doesn't need to do that. And so, by and large, if I was a Democrat strategist, and with all due respect to the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, and senators and congressmen and governors and all these people who think they're going to be the Democratic nominee, Michael Bloomberg has 100% name ID. He has all the financial. He could literally write a check for $250 million tomorrow, and it's a rounding error in his bank account. And that's a pretty special thing to be able to do. But he's also an American success story because he didn't inherit it. He built it all on his own. Everybody knows him. And from a progressive side, he's good enough on their issues that he could make it through a primary, I think, and be very competitive in a general election. And I think that would be, if I was the Democrat, I would be looking to find a candidate that's not saddled with casting votes in Washington, D.C., and being part of the culture in D.C. to try and be the next person to make it through a competitive Democratic primary.
Could he beat Donald Trump?
I don't know if he could beat Donald Trump. Look, the electoral map is so difficult, right? You win New York and California almost instantly as a Democrat. Michael Bloomberg would have to do what Donald Trump did, which is parlay his business acumen and the success that he has built as a businessman into the places that want to make sure the economy is continuing to grow. And those states, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Michael Bloomberg has created tens of thousands of jobs over the course of his lifetime. That is a story the American people like, and he's an outsider. So I think it would be a very, very competitive race, and it would be a race that wouldn't require enormous amount of time fundraising. They would literally just be on the campaign trail the entire time, and you would get you'd have a much longer race because you don't have all these guys out raising money at these small clips.
Sure. Peter Nicholas.